Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to speak to you about one of the most powerful, healing, and transformative journeys that we can embark upon in our lives: the journey to love our inner child. This inner child is not just a past version of ourselves. It is a source of pure joy, creativity, and intuition. It is that part of us that longs to be acknowledged, nurtured, and healed. Unfortunately, many of us grow up thinking that we must outgrow this part of ourselves. We might suppress our vulnerabilities, our needs, or even the simple desires that come from the heart. But when we learn to reconnect with this inner child, we unlock a deep well of strength and healing. We allow ourselves to return to a state of innocence and wonder, rediscovering joy and freedom in our lives. So today, let's embark on a journey together to rediscover this sacred part of ourselves, the inner child, and show them the love they deserve. The power of reconnecting with your inner child. There is an undeniable power within the heart of every individual. That power is often dormant, waiting for us to recognize and embrace it. When we reconnect with our inner child, we tap into a place of infinite creativity and possibility. Think about a time in your life when you were young, before the world imposed its limitations on you. You were free to imagine, to dream without constraints, to express yourself without judgment. This was your inner child at play. Over time, life experiences, societal expectations, and challenges may have dimmed this sense of freedom. But the beauty of reconnecting with your inner child is that it's never too late. You can choose to open that door and embrace the full spectrum of who you are, both the grown-up and the child within. In reconnecting with our inner child, we must first acknowledge the parts of ourselves that have been forgotten or hidden away. It is a process of peeling back the layers of life's experiences that we have built up in the name of survival and conformity. These layers have protected us, but they have also stifled our joy and our natural sense of wonder. The child within us never truly disappears. It merely waits for us to give it permission to return. This is why inner child work is so powerful. It invites us to release the self-imposed restrictions we've accumulated and return to a state of being where joy, wonder, and love flow freely. It is important to recognize that healing our inner child is not just about revisiting childhood memories or re-experiencing the innocence of youth. It is about honoring the unmet needs and desires of our younger selves, the moments where we were hurt or neglected, and offering ourselves the love, understanding, and compassion that we may not have received in those moments. It's not about living in the past, but rather about bringing that child's energy into the present. When we make space for our inner child to exist, we are offering ourselves the permission to be whole, to feel deeply, and to experience life fully again. In this process of reconnecting with our inner child, we are invited to forgive, both ourselves and others. Often, the wounds we carry are tied to childhood experiences, whether it was neglect, criticism, or abandonment. These experiences shape how we view ourselves and the world. But healing begins when we can let go of the resentment and anger that often accompany these old wounds. Forgiveness is a gift to ourselves, an act of love that allows us to move forward, unburdened by the past. When we forgive, we make space for the inner child to heal and thrive. We stop viewing ourselves through the lens of past pain, and instead we start to see the beauty and potential that lies within. Healing the inner child also involves reclaiming our sense of wonder and playfulness. The child within is not bogged down by the seriousness of life. It sees the world with fresh eyes, full of possibility. When we embrace our inner child, we begin to view the world in a new light. We laugh more, we play more, and we allow ourselves to be silly without fear of judgment. This doesn't mean that we ignore responsibilities or live irresponsibly, but rather that we bring lightness and joy into our lives, no matter how busy or challenging they may seem. The ability to find joy in the little things, to embrace the present moment, is a gift that we can all give ourselves by honoring our inner child. As we continue on this journey of reconnecting with our inner child, we also begin to develop a deeper sense of self-love and self-acceptance. The more we nurture and care for the child within, the more we learn to love ourselves as we are, flaws, quirks, and all. We stop seeking external validation or approval because we realize that the love we need has always been within us. This internal love is unshakable and provides us with the foundation upon which to build a life that is authentic, fulfilling, and true to who we are. The journey of loving our inner child is a lifelong practice, one that brings us closer to the essence of our being, healing emotional wounds from the past. One of the most profound aspects of loving our inner child is the opportunity it gives us to heal old emotional wounds. We often carry emotional baggage from our childhood, whether it's from neglect, criticism, or even trauma. These wounds may not always be visible on the surface, but they affect the way we interact with the world, the way we view ourselves, and the way we form relationships. When we begin to address these wounds, we open the door to healing. And healing, as we know, is not about forgetting the past, but about learning to live in the present without the weight of old hurts holding us back. The emotional wounds of our past often stem from our unmet needs as children. Perhaps we longed for affection, approval, or attention that was never given. Or perhaps we experienced rejection, abandonment, or verbal or physical abuse. These experiences leave scars, and as we grow older, we carry them into adulthood, often without realizing how much they continue to influence our lives. The journey to heal these wounds begins with acknowledging them, recognizing their impact, and allowing ourselves to feel the emotions that were once too painful to process. To heal emotional wounds, it's important to create a safe space within ourselves where we can reparent our inner child. This means offering ourselves the love, compassion, and understanding that we may not have received when we were younger. Imagine holding your younger self in your arms, comforting them and telling them that everything will be okay. This kind of self-compassion is essential for healing. It allows us to release the pain and start rewriting our story, no longer defining ourselves by the hurt we've endured. Healing also involves forgiving those who may have caused us pain. This doesn't mean that we condone their behavior, but rather that we release ourselves from the grip of anger and resentment. By forgiving, we free ourselves from the emotional weight of the past. We stop allowing old wounds to dictate how we feel about ourselves and how we navigate the world. When we forgive, we give ourselves the gift of emotional freedom, and our inner child is allowed to heal and grow. As we continue to heal our emotional wounds, we begin to see the world through a different lens. We stop seeing ourselves as victims of our past and start recognizing our inherent worth. Our inner child is no longer burdened by the scars of the past, and we begin to embrace life with greater joy, peace, and acceptance. This healing process is not linear. It ebbs and flows. But each step we take brings us closer to wholeness and peace. We stop being defined by our pain and start embracing the love and joy that we deserve. Through the process of healing our emotional wounds, we also learn to trust ourselves more deeply. We recognize that we have the strength to overcome challenges and the resilience to heal. This trust in ourselves creates a solid foundation from which to navigate life. We are no longer held back by fear or insecurity. Instead, we move forward with confidence and clarity. Our inner child, once wounded and afraid, is now empowered and free, releasing limiting beliefs and negative patterns. Many of us have internalized limiting beliefs that were formed during our childhood. These beliefs often come from the messages we received from parents, caregivers, teachers, and society. Perhaps we were told that we weren't good enough, that we had to be perfect to be loved, or that we would never amount to anything. These messages, whether spoken or unspoken, create a framework through which we view ourselves and the world. Over time, they become embedded in our subconscious mind and influence the way we make choices, set boundaries, and pursue our goals. But when we begin to love our inner child, we are also invited to examine and release these limiting beliefs. Releasing limiting beliefs is an essential part of the healing process. These beliefs are often rooted in fear and self-doubt, and they prevent us from stepping into our true potential. When we recognize these beliefs for what they are, false narratives that no longer serve us, we can begin to challenge them. This is not an easy process, as these beliefs are deeply ingrained in our psyche. But with practice and self-awareness, we can start to rewrite the stories we've been telling ourselves. We begin to replace "I'm not enough" with "I am worthy of love and success." We replace "I can't do it" with "I have the power to create the life I desire." In this process of releasing limiting beliefs, we must also confront the fears that keep us stuck. Fear often arises from the wounded parts of our inner child, the parts that were hurt or neglected. But fear is not something to be avoided. It is something to be embraced and understood. When we face our fears with love and compassion, we begin to see them for what they truly are, opportunities for growth and expansion. By facing our fears, we empower our inner child to move past them and embrace new possibilities. As we work to release limiting beliefs, we must also be willing to forgive ourselves for the ways in which we've held ourselves back. Often we are our own harshest critics, believing that we are undeserving of love, success, or happiness. This self-criticism stems from the wounds of our past and the limiting beliefs we've internalized. But by practicing self-forgiveness, we release the grip of these beliefs and allow ourselves to step into our true power. Self-forgiveness is not about excusing past mistakes. It is about recognizing that we are worthy of love and growth, regardless of what we have done in the past. As we continue to release limiting beliefs, we also begin to shift the way we see ourselves. We stop defining ourselves by past failures or mistakes, and instead we start to see ourselves as whole, capable, and deserving of all the good things life has to offer. Our inner child, once burdened by fear and self-doubt, now feels free to explore and grow. We begin to see ourselves as worthy of love, success, and happiness. We are no longer held back by the old stories we've told ourselves. Instead, we step into a new story, one that is filled with possibilities and dreams waiting to be realized. Finally, releasing limiting beliefs requires ongoing practice. It is not a one-time event, but rather a continuous journey of self-awareness and growth. Each time we catch ourselves thinking a negative or limiting thought, we have the opportunity to choose again. With each new choice, we are creating a new reality, one that is rooted in self-love and the belief that we are capable of achieving our dreams. This ongoing process of releasing and replacing limiting beliefs empowers us to step fully into the life we were meant to live. Cultivating joy and playfulness. One of the most beautiful gifts we can give ourselves is the gift of joy. Joy is not just something that happens to us. It is something we can choose to cultivate in our lives. Our inner child is the embodiment of joy, innocence, and playfulness. When we reconnect with our inner child, we open the door to a world of laughter, creativity, and fun. Cultivating joy is not about seeking external validation or waiting for circumstances to be perfect. It is about choosing to experience joy regardless of what is happening around us. As adults, we often become so caught up in responsibilities and obligations that we forget to make time for joy. We may view joy as something frivolous or indulgent, something we will experience once we've finished all our tasks. But true joy is not something that is reserved for special occasions. It is a state of being that we can cultivate every day. When we allow ourselves to experience joy, we tap into the energy of our inner child. We reconnect with that sense of wonder and playfulness that makes life feel magical. Cultivating joy also requires us to let go of the notion that we must always be serious or in control. The inner child is free from these constraints. It is spontaneous, curious, and unafraid of making mistakes. When we embrace this childlike attitude, we allow ourselves to experience life with fresh eyes. We stop worrying about perfection and start enjoying the journey. This doesn't mean we ignore our responsibilities, but rather that we integrate joy into all aspects of our lives. Joy also comes from being present in the moment. When we are fully present, we are able to appreciate the small miracles that surround us every day. Whether it's the warmth of the sun on our skin, the sound of birds singing, or the simple pleasure of a good meal, joy is found in the little things. Our inner child knows how to be fully present, to revel in the beauty of the present moment. When we allow ourselves to be present, we cultivate joy and invite it into our lives. The practice of cultivating joy is an ongoing process. It requires us to make time for play, laughter, and creativity. It requires us to step outside of our comfort zones and embrace the spontaneity of life. But the rewards are immeasurable. When we choose joy, we create an energy of positivity and lightness that ripples through our lives. We are more resilient, more open to new experiences, and more connected to our authentic selves. Cultivating joy also helps us heal the wounds of our inner child. When we allow ourselves to play and have fun, we are healing the parts of ourselves that were once suppressed or neglected. We are telling our inner child that it is okay to feel safe, loved, and joyful. This healing energy nourishes our spirit and allows us to move forward with greater peace and contentment. Joy becomes a pathway to healing, And the more we cultivate it, the more we invite peace into our lives. Nurturing self-love and self-care. The foundation of loving our inner child is nurturing self-love and self-care. This means treating ourselves with the same kindness, compassion, and patience that we would offer to a loved one. Often we are our own harshest critics, demanding perfection from ourselves and neglecting our own needs. But when we begin to love our inner child, we recognize that we deserve love and care just as much as anyone else. Self-love is not a luxury. It is a necessity for our emotional, mental, and physical well-being. Nurturing self-love starts with acknowledging our inherent worth. We do not need to earn love. We are already worthy of it simply because we exist. Our inner child knows this truth. But as we grow older, we often forget it. We may think that we must achieve, perform, or prove ourselves to be deserving of love. But true self-love comes from recognizing that we are worthy as we are, in all our imperfections and flaws. When we accept ourselves fully, we are able to offer ourselves the love, care, and compassion that we deserve. Self-care is a critical part of this process. It is not just about pampering ourselves occasionally. It is about taking daily actions to nourish our bodies, minds, and souls. This might mean getting enough sleep, eating nourishing foods, engaging in activities that bring us joy, or setting healthy boundaries with others. When we care for ourselves, we are sending a message to our inner child that we are safe, loved, and valued. Self-care is a powerful act of self-love, and it allows us to show up fully in our lives. Nurturing self-love also involves healing the parts of ourselves that feel unworthy or unloved. Many of us carry deep wounds related to self-criticism, rejection, or abandonment. These wounds are often tied to our inner child, and they can cause us to believe that we are not enough. But when we offer ourselves love and care, we begin to heal these wounds. We stop looking for external validation or approval, and instead we turn inward for the love and acceptance that we need. As we nurture self-love, we also begin to cultivate a deeper sense of gratitude for ourselves and our lives. We recognize the beauty in who we are, and we celebrate our unique gifts and talents. Gratitude for ourselves is a powerful way to reinforce our sense of worth. When we focus on what we love about ourselves, we create a positive feedback loop that helps us grow and thrive. Ultimately, nurturing self-love and self-care is an ongoing practice. It requires us to show up for ourselves every day, even on the difficult days. It means treating ourselves with the same kindness and compassion that we would offer to a loved one. By making self-love and self-care a priority, we empower our inner child to heal, grow, and experience life with joy and freedom. Embracing your full authenticity. To truly love our inner child, we must embrace our full authenticity. This means letting go of the masks we wear, the roles we play, and the personas we create to fit in or gain approval. Our inner child is pure and unfiltered. It doesn't try to be anyone else, and it doesn't seek external validation. When we embrace our authenticity, we allow ourselves to show up in the world as we truly are, without fear of judgment or rejection. Authenticity requires us to stop pretending to be something we are not. Often we suppress our true selves in order to meet the expectations of others or to fit into societal norms. But this suppression creates an inner conflict that prevents us from fully experiencing life. When we allow our inner child to be seen and heard, we give ourselves the freedom to be ourselves without apology. We stop hiding parts of ourselves out of fear and start embracing the fullness of who we are. Embracing our authenticity also means acknowledging the parts of ourselves that we may have rejected or denied. These could be qualities that we were told were bad or unacceptable, or aspects of ourselves that we were ashamed of. But when we embrace these parts of ourselves, we reclaim our wholeness. Our inner child holds the key to this authenticity, as it is free from the filters of shame or judgment. By reconnecting with this child, we rediscover the beauty in our uniqueness and the strength that lies in being true to ourselves. Authenticity also requires us to let go of the need for approval from others. We often seek validation from external sources, whether it's through achievements, appearances, or relationships. But true validation comes from within. When we embrace our inner child, we stop seeking approval and start living for ourselves. We recognize that we are worthy of love and acceptance, not because of what we do, but simply because of who we are. This shift in perspective allows us to step into our full power and authenticity. Being authentic also means being vulnerable. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness in adulthood, but in truth, it is a strength. Our inner child is vulnerable, and it is in this vulnerability that we find our deepest connection to others and to ourselves. When we embrace our authenticity and vulnerability, we open the door to deeper intimacy and connection. We no longer hide behind masks or facades. Instead, we show up as our true selves, ready to experience life in all its beauty and complexity. As we embrace our authenticity, we become more aligned with our true purpose. We stop living inauthentic lives, shaped by the expectations and opinions of others. Instead, we begin to live a life that reflects our true values, passions, and desires. Our inner child leads the way, showing us how to be unapologetically ourselves and live with a sense of freedom, joy, and authenticity. The gift of unconditional love. When we truly love our inner child, we give ourselves the gift of unconditional love. This love is not based on conditions, achievements, or expectations. It is simply love, pure and unwavering. Unconditional love is the foundation of healing and transformation. It allows us to accept ourselves fully, to forgive ourselves for past mistakes, and to embrace every part of ourselves, no matter how imperfect it may seem. The gift of unconditional love starts with acceptance. We must learn to accept ourselves as we are, without judgment or criticism. This doesn't mean that we stop growing or evolving, but rather that we love ourselves throughout the entire journey. We recognize that we are worthy of love, regardless of our mistakes, flaws, or shortcomings. This acceptance is the foundation upon which all healing and growth are built. Unconditional love also requires us to practice forgiveness. We must forgive ourselves for past mistakes, for the ways in which we've hurt others or allowed ourselves to be hurt. We must also forgive others for the ways in which they have hurt us. This forgiveness is not about excusing harmful behavior, but about freeing ourselves from the grip of resentment and anger. When we forgive, we open ourselves to love. Unconditional love also involves embracing our imperfections. Often, we are taught that love must be earned, or that we must be flawless in order to be deserving of it. But unconditional love is not conditional. It flows freely, without expectation or requirement. When we practice unconditional love, we accept ourselves as we are, without the need to change or prove anything. Our inner child understands this deeply. It sees the world with innocence and wonder, not tainted by the pressures of perfection. By tapping into this pure love, we learn to love ourselves without conditions, allowing ourselves the grace to grow, make mistakes, and evolve along the way. This gift of unconditional love transforms the way we relate to the world. When we love ourselves unconditionally, we begin to see others through the same lens of compassion and understanding. We stop expecting perfection from others and instead offer them the same acceptance and love that we give ourselves. This creates a ripple effect of love and healing in our relationships as we learn to communicate from a place of openness and empathy. Our inner child, once wounded or afraid of rejection, now feels safe and secure in the knowledge that it is worthy of love, no matter what. Unconditional love is not about being perfect. It's about showing up authentically and accepting ourselves and others as we are. It's about being kind to ourselves in moments of weakness and loving ourselves even when we fall short of our own expectations. Our inner child thrives in this environment of love and acceptance, growing stronger and more resilient with each passing day. This unconditional love creates the space for profound healing as we move beyond old wounds and patterns that no longer serve us. In learning to love our inner child unconditionally, we become more connected to the truth of who we are. We no longer seek validation or approval from external sources. Instead, we look inward for love, strength, and reassurance. This self-love is unwavering and becomes the foundation from which we build all aspects of our lives. We begin to trust ourselves more deeply and move through the world with confidence and peace. Our inner child, fully embraced and loved, now stands at the center of our lives, guiding us toward joy, authenticity, and deep connection. This gift of unconditional love also teaches us how to love others in a more profound way. When we understand what it means to love ourselves without conditions, we can offer that same love to those around us. We no longer hold others to unrealistic expectations or withhold love due to past hurts. Instead, we offer love freely, without fear or judgment. This allows us to experience deeper, more meaningful relationships, rooted in mutual respect and acceptance. As we continue to embrace the gift of unconditional love, we deepen our connection to our inner child. This love provides the foundation for all healing, emotional, physical, and spiritual. It invites us to live fully, authentically, and joyfully, knowing that we are worthy of all the love the world has to offer. Unconditional love becomes the cornerstone of our lives, allowing us to heal old wounds, let go of past pain, and create a life filled with peace, joy, and love. In closing, the journey of loving our inner child is one of the most profound and transformative paths we can walk. It is a journey that calls us to reconnect with the pure, innocent, and joyful part of ourselves that may have been hidden away for too long. When we learn to love our inner child, we unlock a deep well of healing, creativity, and wisdom. We give ourselves permission to heal old wounds, release limiting beliefs, and embrace our full authenticity. We cultivate joy, self-love, and unconditional love, creating a life filled with meaning, connection, and peace. This process requires patience, compassion, and a willingness to face the parts of ourselves that may have been neglected or hurt. But as we embark on this journey, we begin to see the beauty in our vulnerability, the power in our authenticity, and the joy in our freedom. We come to realize that we are worthy of love, just as we are. By loving our inner child, we transform our lives and the way we relate to the world around us. Remember, the child within you is not a distant memory or a part of you that is irrelevant to your present life. It is the heart of who you are, the source of your deepest desires, and the key to your healing and growth. When you love your inner child, you reconnect with the essence of your being, the pure, untainted energy that is capable of experiencing life with joy, wonder, and boundless love. This is the gift of loving your inner child, and it is a gift that will continue to guide and uplift you for the rest of your days. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you today, and may you always remember the love, joy, and light that resides within you, waiting to be embraced.